Okay, in this example, we are going to talk about depreciation. So on January 1st, the Pattison Corporation purchased machinery for $240,000. The estimated useful life of the machinery is 8 years, and the estimated residual value is $20,000. The machine is expected to produce 55,000 units during its useful life. So what we want to do is calculate the depreciation for the first 2 years using each of the following methods. So we have straight line, sum of the year's digits, declining, double declining balance, 150% declining balance, and units of production. So let's look at straight line first. Straight line is the most commonly used depreciation method for financial statements, mostly because it is the easiest. So for 2011, we are going to have, how we calculate that is we're going to start with our costs. So our cost was $240,000. And then we have to determine the amount to be depreciated. So we do that by subtracting then any residual value. So we have $20,000 of residual value. So that can be, what trade publications are listing as what an estimated machine at that age does. So our residual value is $220,000. Okay, so all we need to do then at that point for straight line is take that $220,000, which is our amount to be depreciated, divided by our number of years, which is 8. So it's $27,500 per year that we are going to depreciate, and our second year, 2012, will be the exact same thing. Okay, so 27,500. It's going to be spread equally over the life of the asset. So that's all it's to straight line depreciation. As you can see, it's an easy way to do things, so that's why it's the most popular method of use. Next, we're going to do the sum of the year's digits. And sum of the year's digits is not really used that much anymore, but you will see it occasionally, so we'll go over it quick here. Sum of the year's digits, there's no real logical method to it. It's just an accelerated, organized way of doing it, where you're going to have again, an accelerated method where more depreciation is going to be taken at the beginning of the asset's life than at the end. So to calculate that, we have 8 years. So 8 years is the number of years that we're going to be depreciating. So technically we would go equals 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals 36. We could also do, if you remember way back to your grade school math probably, and do the factoring. So we could take the number of years plus 1, so 8 plus 1 times the number of years, 8, and then divide that by 2, and that would get you the same thing of 36. Okay, so once we do that, our depreciation for 2011 is going to be equal to our amount to be depreciated. Remember, our amount to depreciated stays the same under each method. So we're going to depreciate $220,000, and we're going to take that times our years. So it's going to be 8. So it's year number 1. So we kind of reverse those. So we're going to start with the highest number of years of 8 divided by 36. And we'll put that parentheses there, so that's going to be that factor. So for year 1, we're going to have $48,889 worth of depreciation. In 2012, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our $220,000, okay, and we're going to take that times, instead this year, we're going to start with year 7. So 7 divided by 36 is going to be our rate. That's our depreciation rate used that year. So $42,778 is what we'll take as depreciation expense in year 2. Now remember, the entry to this is always going to be debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. Okay. And also, of course, remember, anytime we're doing depreciation, depreciation is a cost allocation. It is not a means of measuring fair market value. Okay, and also remember that we use a separate method for tax purposes. We use currently we use makers. Okay, and the different tax implications, which we won't go into, but so this is strictly for financial statement purposes. Okay, our next method is a double declining balance, and this is an accelerated method. And we start off with our straight line depreciation rate. So we calculate our straight line rate by taking 1 divided by the number of years, which is 8. Okay, so 12.5% is our straight line rate. Double declining is just 2 times or double our straight line rate, or 25%. Now I like to set up a table because it makes it you can follow it a little easier here. So we start with net book value, okay, our beginning net book value. So this can be a little different. In straight line method, you notice we took uh, residual value or salvage value off the top, and that was the amount to be depreciated. We're still going to depreciate that same dollar amount, so we are still going to depreciate $220,000. But for our calculation here, we are going to start with our net book value, and in this case, it's cost. Net book value is equal to 240,000 minus our accumulated depreciation, which is 0. So we haven't done anything yet, so it's 240,000. Our rate is going to be equal to 25%. Okay, we'll make that a little bigger there. Our depreciation expense for our first year is going to be our net book value times our rate, or $60,000. Our accumulated depreciation adds up all of our depreciation that we've taken to this point in time. Our ending net book value then is going to be our beginning net book value minus our accumulated depreciation, or 180,000. Okay, so then in year 2 we're going to start off with that ending net book value of 180,000. Our rate remains the same. Not quite sure how I got that number, but there we go. You can go out and see his formula. So our 25%, our depreciation expense is going to be equal our beginning net book value of 180,000 times our rate of 25%, or 45,000. Our accumulated depreciation is the total depreciation that we've taken plus this year's depreciation expense, so 105,000. And our ending net book value can be calculated a couple different ways. We can take our beginning net book value for the year and subtract out our this year's depreciation expense and get 135,000 as our ending net book value. Or we could take our beginning net book value total and subtract out our accumulated depreciation, and it's going to get us the same point. So you can get calculation either way. Okay, and we would just carry this out all the way through, okay, until we get down to, we depreciate all the way down to our salvage value. So once we hit that salvage value, then we stop, okay? So once we hit and we have a net book value of $20,000, that's where we end. 150% double declining balance is going to be the exact same calculations, only we're just using a different rate. So we are still going to start with our 240,000 and our rate is going to change. So our straight line rate is, remember, a 12.5%. Our rate for 150% declining balance is going to be that straight line rate times 1.5, and we will forget to do that, so we'll extend that out. So it's 18.75 or 18.75%. That's going to be our rate. Okay, so our rate is going to be equal to our 18.75%. And then we do the exact same calculations that we did above. So our beginning net book value times our rate, which is going to be 45,000, our accumulated depreciation, is 45,000. Our ending net book value is going to be 240,000 minus our accumulated depreciation of 45,000, or 195,000. So we start off year 2 with 195,000. We're going to be using our rate of 18.75%. Our depreciation expense is going to be equal to 36,563. So our beginning net book value times our rate, and that gives us our depreciation expense for the year. Our accumulated depreciation is going to start with our 45,000 plus this year's depreciation expense of 81,543, and then our ending net book value, again we can calculate that two ways, is going to be 158,438. Okay, finally we're going to look at units of production, and units of production works the same really as straight line. So what we're going to do is we're taking our amount to be depreciated, so 240,000 divided by, or excuse me, minus 20,000. So that's our amount to be depreciated. Next, we need to figure out how much we're going to do per year. Well, I mean per unit. So we have 220,000 amount to be depreciated. We are expecting its useful life, and so instead of years, we're going to use units. So we had an estimated useful life of 55,000 units. So our rate that we are going to depreciate is $4 per unit. Then it's just simply, so for 2011, we produced 8,000 units. We take that times our $4 per unit depreciation rate. Our depreciation expense for 2011 is 32,000. For 2012, we have 12,000 units produced, okay, times our $4 per unit, or 48,000 is going to be our depreciation expense for 2012. So as you see, each method is a different philosophy, and it depends on what your overall corporate goals are. You can do different structures for different methods for different classes of assets. So thank you for your attention, and good luck with depreciation.